Please take this rose.
I cannot take it.
She was fired on a Monday, and by Friday, 2 3-year-old twins had stopped eating. Nobody in that house understood why the children would not touch their food. Not the chef, not the new nanny, not even their own father, a man who could buy an island but could not make his own kids swallow a spoon of rice. But I am getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to the beginning, because this story will break your heart before it heals it. My name is Grace, and 3 months before all of this happened, I was just a tired young woman standing outside a mansion gate in Los Angeles, holding a resume in my shaking hands. I did not know that gate would change my whole life. I did not know that behind those walls, love, jealousy, and betrayal were waiting for me like hidden knives in soft carpet. Stay with me till the end, because what happened in that kitchen, on that ordinary evening, will make you cry, and then it will make you smile so hard your cheeks will hurt. Before we continue, tell me quickly in the comments, where are you watching from, and what time is it there right now? I want to know who is with me on this journey. And please, tap that like button, hit subscribe, and share this with someone who still believes love can win. Now, let's go back to the beginning. I was 26 years old when I walked through that gate for the first time. I had no husband, no children of my own, just a heart full of love with nowhere to put it. My mother used to say I was born to take care of someone. She said it like a joke, but it became my whole life. The house belonged to a man named Richard, a billionaire who owned hotels in 3 cities, and a name that made grown men nervous when they said out loud. He did not interview me himself that day. His assistant did. Cold questions, a clipboard, a stopwatch almost. I answered everything softly and honestly. Then, right before I stood up to leave, the door opened and he walked in. Richard was tall, tired-looking, with eyes that had not smiled in a long time. He did not sit. He just looked at me and asked one simple question. Do you love children, or do you just need the money? I told him the truth. I said, Sir, I need the money, yes, but I have loved children since I was a child myself. I said I would treat his kids like they came from my own body. He stared at me for a long time. Then he said, Start tomorrow. I did not know that answer would follow me for years. The twins, Bella and Toby, were 3 years old when I met them. Bella had her mother's eyes, soft and a little sad. Toby never stopped moving, like his little body was always trying to catch up with something invisible. Their mother had passed away almost 2 years before I arrived, and the house still carried her silence in every room. The first week was hard. The twins did not trust me. They had seen nannies come and go like seasons. But I did not force anything. I sat on the floor with them. I sang songs badly on purpose until they laughed. I let Toby wipe his sticky hands on my sleeve without flinching. I let Bella fall asleep on my shoulder during thunderstorms. Slowly, so slowly, they began to run to me instead of away from me. By the second month, Bella called me Mama in her sleep, and Toby refused to eat unless I was the one holding the spoon. I did not know this would become a problem for other people in that house. You see, there were other staff members. A cook named Priscilla, a housekeeper named Dora, and a driver named Kenny who liked to whisper in corners. They had been in that house long before me, and they had their own quiet rules. Do not get close to the family. Do not let the children love you too much. Do not let Richard notice you. I broke every one of those rules without even knowing it, because one evening, Richard came home early from a business trip to Chicago, and he walked into the living room to find me on the floor, building a blanket fort with Bella and Toby, laughing so loud the walls seemed to shake. He stood at the doorway for almost a full minute before we noticed him. I expected him to be angry. Instead, his eyes looked wet, like a man remembering something he thought he had lost forever. That night, after the twins were asleep, he found me in the hallway and said something I will never forget. He said, "Thank you for making this house sound like a home again." I said nothing. I just nodded and walked away, my heart pounding in my chest like a drum. But someone else saw that moment too. Dora, the housekeeper, was standing at the top of the stairs, watching everything with narrow eyes. From that night, everything changed. Small things started disappearing. My name started appearing in whispered conversations that stopped the moment I entered a room. Priscilla began telling Richard that I was too familiar with the children, that I was overstepping, that a nanny should not let children get so attached. I did not fight back. I did not know how to fight shadows. Then one afternoon, Richard called me into his study. His face was different that day, hard, distant, like a stranger wearing a skin. He said reports had reached him. He said maybe I was getting too close to his children in a way that was not professional. He said maybe it was best if I left. I wanted to explain. I wanted to tell him about the whispers, about Dora's cold eyes, about Priscilla's fake concern that hid real jealousy. But pride held my tongue. I simply said, if that is what you believe, I will pack my things. I left that house with a small bag and a heart broken into pieces. I did not know how to count. I did not see the twins that day. Nobody let me say goodbye. I want you to imagine, for a second, what it feels like to love two children like your own, and then vanish from their world without a single hug, without a single explanation. That is the kind of pain that does not show on your face, but sits in your chest like a stone. If this story is touching you right now, please drop a comment telling me one person you would fight for no matter what it costs you. And do not forget to subscribe, because this story is only getting started. The days after I left were the hardest of my life. I stayed with my cousin in a small apartment in Pasadena, sleeping on a couch that smelled like old fabric and regret. I cried more in those 2 weeks than I had in the past 5 years combined. But something strange was happening back in that mansion, something I did not know about until much later. Bella and Toby stopped eating. Not just picky eating, not just a bad day. They refused breakfast. They refused lunch. They pushed away dinner plates and cried until their little voices went hoarse. Priscilla tried everything. Cartoons on the tablet, favorite toys, bribery with candy. Nothing worked. A full week passed like this. The house doctor was called. Richard sat by their beds at night, watching his children grow thinner and quieter, and he felt something inside him crack that even his money could not repair. He did not know the truth yet. He did not know that his children were not just missing food. They were missing me. Meanwhile, I had no idea any of this was happening. I was simply trying to survive, applying for new jobs, try to convince myself that love given freely is never wasted, even when it is not returned. Then, on a quiet Thursday evening, something small happened that changed everything. I still had the kitchen keys. In the rush of being sent away, nobody remembered to collect them from me. I had forgotten about them completely, too, tucked inside an old coat pocket, because after I left that house, I stopped cooking almost entirely. Grief does that to a person. It steals your appetite for ordinary life. But that evening, my cousin asked me to help prepare food for a small gathering, and as I searched through my things for a spare set of keys to my own storage box, my hand touched that old coat, and the mansion keys fell out onto the floor with a soft, metallic sound. My chest tightened. I stared at them for a long time. Something inside me, maybe foolish, maybe brave, told me I had to return them. It was the right thing to do. It was also, if I am honest, an excuse to see the house one more time, even from a distance. I called ahead. Dora answered, her voice surprised, almost nervous. She said I could come by briefly to drop the keys at the gate. I told myself, just the gate, just the keys, nothing more. I arrived just as the sun was setting over Los Angeles, painting the sky in soft orange, like the world itself was holding its breath. I walked toward the front steps, keys in hand, planning to hand them to gateman and leave quietly, the way grief teaches you to leave quietly. But then I heard it. A small voice, cracked and desperate, screaming from an upstairs window. Mama Grace. My whole body froze. Another voice joined it, Toby's voice, high and breaking. Mama Grace is here. Mama Grace. I looked up, and there they were, Bella and Toby, pressed against the window glass, their little hands slapping against it. Their faces lit up with joy so pure it nearly knocked the breath out of me. Before I could even process what was happening, I heard footsteps thundering down the stairs inside the house. The front door burst open, and the twins came running out barefoot onto the cold steps, crying and laughing at the same time, throwing themselves at my legs with a force that almost knocked me over. I dropped the keys. I dropped everything. I fell to my knees and wrapped my arms around both of them, feeling their small hearts pounding against mine. That is when I noticed how thin Bella had become. That is when I noticed the dark circles under Toby's eyes. My heart shattered all over again, but this time from love, not rejection. I heard more footsteps, slower this time, heavier. I looked up and saw Richard standing in the doorway, frozen, his eyes locked on the scene in front of him, his hand pressed against his mouth, like he was trying to hold back something enormous. Behind him stood Priscilla and Dora, their faces pale, their eyes wide with something that looked a lot like guilt. I tried to stand, tried to compose myself, tried to say something professional and distant, because I still believe I was not wanted there. I whispered to the twins, I just came to drop the keys. I have to go now. That is when both children grabbed my hands, so tightly it almost hurt. Please do not leave us again, Bella cried, her small voice shaking the evening air. We will not eat, Toby sobbed. We will not eat if you leave. Please, please stay. I could not speak. Tears streamed down my face, hot and unstoppable, as I knelt there on those front steps, holding Bella and Toby while the warm Los Angeles evening wrapped around us like a quiet promise that love had finally found its way home. Then silence broke. Richard walked forward, slowly, like a man approaching something sacred. He knelt down beside his children, beside me, and for the first time since I had known him, I saw him cry openly, without shame, without hiding behind business meetings or cold instructions. He said, Please stay, Grace. Please. I was wrong. I looked at him, confused, my heart pounding. He explained, right there on those steps, in front of everyone, that after I left, he had started asking questions. He had noticed the whispers did not add up. He had noticed how the staff avoided his eyes when he mentioned my name. He had watched his children waste away in grief, and it forced him to see the truth he had been too proud, too busy, too distracted to see before. That is when Priscilla stepped forward, her hands trembling, tears in her own eyes. She confessed everything. She admitted that she and Dora had lied, exaggerated stories, twisted innocent moments into something they were not, because they were jealous of how easily the children loved me, jealous of the warmth I brought into a house that had been cold since their mother passed. She begged for forgiveness, right there in front of Richard, in front of the twins, in front of the setting sun. I did not answer her right away. I simply held the twins tighter and let myself feel, for the first time in weeks, that maybe love does not always get lost. Sometimes it just takes the long way home. If you are still here with me, if this story is touching something deep inside you, please like this video right now, and tell me in the comments, do you believe people can change when they finally see the truth? Also, subscribe, because the best part of the story is still coming. Richard gave Priscilla and Dora 1 month to prove they had truly changed, a chance most billionaires would never bother giving. He said actions would decide if they stayed, not apologies. To their credit, both women spent that month trying to make things right. Small acts of kindness toward the children, honesty in every conversation, no more whispers in corners. I moved back into that house that very night, and for the first time since I had arrived there months earlier, it felt less like a job and more like a homecoming. The twins started eating again within 2 days. Slowly, color came back into Bella's cheeks. Toby started running around the garden again, chasing butterflies with the same wild energy he had before everything fell apart. Richard changed too. He came home earlier. He sat with us during dinner instead of eating alone in his study. He started asking about my day, not out of politeness, but because he genuinely wanted to know. One evening, exactly 1 month after that emotional reunion on the front steps, Richard asked me to join him in the garden after the twins had gone to sleep. The night was quiet. Stars scattered across the Los Angeles sky, like scattered diamonds on dark cloth. He did not waste time with fancy words. He took my hand gently and said, Grace, you brought life back into this house when I thought it was gone forever. You loved my children when you had every reason to walk away and never look back. I do not want you to be their nanny anymore. My heart dropped for a second, thinking the worst. Then he continued, I want you to be their mother, officially, and I want you to be my wife. If you will have me. I stood there under that quiet sky, tears falling freely, unable to speak for a long moment. This man, who once questioned my love for his children, was now offering me his whole heart, his whole family, his whole future. I said yes. The wedding was small, quiet, held right there in that same garden where he had asked me. Bella wore a tiny white dress and refused to let go of my hand throughout the entire ceremony. Toby insisted on carrying the rings himself, proud as any little boy could be. Priscilla and Dora were there too, older now in spirit, humbled by everything that had happened, genuinely happy for a family that had finally found its way back to wholeness. As I stood there that evening, surrounded by the people who had once broken me and the children who had once healed me, I understood something simple but powerful. Love, real love, does not disappear just because someone tries to destroy it. Sometimes it waits quietly, holding on to hope until the right moment brings it home again. If this story touched your heart today, you already know what to do. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, and share it with someone who needs to believe that good things still happen to good people. Tell me in the comments which part made you cry the most, the kitchen key, the window scene, or the proposal under the stars. I read every single comment, and I want to hear your heart on this one. Thank you for staying with me till the end. Until the next story, keep believing in love, keep believing in second chances, and I will see you very soon.